Who would have thought that Captured Professor Z would stay exclusive to his one and only release longer than several chases and even super chases? It makes no sense. It's absolutely insane. No one saw this coming. I'm actually really excited to talk about it today and dive back into this release because I feel like either some of you guys forgot about it, never knew it existed in the first place, or just happy to see it celebrated because, yeah, Captured Professor Z is pretty awesome. He's got a unique expression. Even his captor, Finn McMissile, is looking super sharp in a unibody here. And like we're talking about, he actually stayed true to himself and what Mattel advertised him as, which was exclusive to the London Rescue 12-pack. Now, there were tons of cars that Mattel labeled as exclusives, either in 2-packs or multi-packs, that ended up getting released elsewhere down the line, like Chauncey Fares, who got released in a multi-pack and then later on in a single. But that really is the first or bottom tier of exclusivity, labeled exclusive. Tier up from that is Chase, which can be produced on the scale of tens of thousands, but is supposed to comprise less than 12% of the assortment or some random number like that, and is not supposed to be re-released again. And then you have Super Chases, which are limited to 4,000 units for most of them. I think Frosty might be 2,000 or 3,000, so there are some of those early ones that actually are lower, but we live now in a day and age where nothing matters, right? We saw Lee Race get re-released a couple years ago. He was a chase. Miles Axelrod with Open Hood, he's gotten re-released. And now 2026, we're looking at several super chases likely to be re-released, from Flash, Memo Rojas Jr., a regular Morgan Martins who already came out of retirement last year, albeit in an alternative paint job. So I'm just excited to celebrate and honor Captured Professor Z, who did actually stay exclusive to the 12-pack, although it very well just could be because he's super awkward and cumbersome that it would be very difficult to do him again. Probably would have to be a 2-pack with Finn, and I just don't see that ever happening. So yeah, some of these cars definitely have a better chance of staying exclusive just by the nature of their diecast, like Sergeant High Gear, who's a massive deluxe, probably never going to be brought back. I don't want to say knock on wood because, I don't know. I know there's people out there who say, oh man, don't want to lock these releases behind bars and for the newer generation. I get that, but as I told somebody, there are hundreds of cars Mattel could release, hundreds of cars Mattel hasn't released in over a decade, over 15 years, that are not super chases or chases or even exclusives. So do those, do Chuck Manifold, do Jerry Drive Chain, do cars like that, like they are with Dale Earnhardt Jr., right? So, I don't know, there are a lot of angles to it, but today we are reviewing, obviously, Captured Professor Z with this beautiful unibody of Finn McMissile as a part of the 4th season of Forlorn Favorites. Guys, welcome in. This is chapter 48. Now, there is Captured Professor Z in the movie. It's hard to kind of, translate the wires onto a diecast, although they did do this before with Spin Out Lightning McQueen, and yet they didn't go that route here with Captured Professor Z. Like you could see here with Spin Out Lightning McQueen, they painted them on, but they're also raised. They're part of the metal body. They are raised off of that to create a textured feel, which is awesome. I think that is actually, it is raised. I'm going crazy here. You could feel it as you run your finger across the car. Now with Professor Z here, they went with kind of a rubber band style that loops around Finn McMissile's tires. So you can detach Captured Professor Z here. You could even take off the rubber band from Professor Z entirely, but then it would be very difficult to get back on, so I don't advise that, and that's why we're not going to be doing that today. We're just going to take a look at him without his owner, basically, on the leash, Finn McMissile. Sorry, Finn. we'll get your pet back here in just a moment. But the best thing probably about captured Professor Z is his expression. And it never gets shown off that well because it's kind of covered with the rubber bands. But look at that. I mean, he's in such anguish. He's pissed off, and I don't blame him. Now, obviously, he's the villain, but, he thought he was gone. Like, he was on Tony Trial, ready to sail out of London there on the River Thames, and Finn McMissile does the unthinkable and blows up the whole darn thing. It's a fun scene. It's pretty epic, actually, because you think Finn's dead to rights. The magnets got him. It actually is a really clever scene. Like, they set that up in the beginning of the movie. They don't just pull something out of their rear. Like, oh my God, like, look at Finn's new ability. He is like a demagnetizer or something. No, like, it's actually something they set up early in the movie, which I absolutely love. Cars 2 gets way too much hate. Now, of course, the monocle is gone because of the magnet. We have to remember that. The magnet took Professor Z's monocle. I always did find it funny, though. Like, they are so close to Tony Trial, and that explosion looked massive. Like, it looked sizable, and yet they're pretty much unaffected. We don't really see what happens to them when the explosion hits, but you'd think they would have gotten blasted with water at the very minimum. And if you're Professor Z, like, you think you can maybe escape during that moment. Maybe he gets knocked unconscious and Finn's able to maneuver that. But, yeah, pretty wild scene. Now, there's another Professor Z expression variant that came out in a Walmart exclusive 2-pack with, I believe, who was it that he was released with? I think it was Grem. No, it wasn't Grem. Grem was with Finn with Weapon. Acer was with Mater, Spyglass. Holly Shiftwell was with Fredfish Boski. So who was Professor Z with? Was he with, like... Gosh, I can't believe I'm not remembering what his partner was. Who his partner was in the 2-pack. But either way, this is another expression variant for him, 2011. This was a 2012 12-pack, of course. It's actually a really awesome 12-pack that goes for like $200 on eBay nowadays. But yeah, just kind of showing you all the expressions for Professor Z. And then you have the Quick Changers version that had to size him up pretty insanely here so they could fit this weapon on the side, which, it's fun and all that. It makes no sense. Professor Z doesn't bear any weapons whatsoever, but, this is how, it looks on some of the other lemons, so I understand why they went this way, but he just looks so massive like this, and mine does appear to be a little broken, sadly. That is actually pretty sad. Like, this doesn't stay up anymore, and the eyes don't change. Oh, I just had to apply some pressure. Okay, there we go. All right, I fixed it. Maybe. Oh, maybe I actually screwed it up even worse. Because now okay, we're just going to leave it like that and not mess with it because this expression is more unique and the first one's more akin to his typical expression. You can see the mouth there for sure. But yeah, that's a very forlorn version of Professor Z in and of itself. You do have the Z150 text logo there on the side. A couple little patches of dirt. Because Professor Z is going out and doing the dirty work, even though he is the leader of the Lemons. He's out there grinding on the oil rig while Miles Axelrod is really not doing a whole lot. I wish we saw some dissenting within the Lemons organization. There's so many. You'd think like a cool plot point maybe could have been one of them dissenting, being a traitor, betraying Professor Z, and actually helping out Mater. Finn and Holly maybe have done something like, I don't know. I just feel like that could have been an element that boosted the film's critic ratings just kind of by tying things together. I don't know. I feel like that actually could have helped out the story. Anyways, the license plate reads BAD GA58. Now, I think 58 refers to the model. Like, this is an actual... I can't remember the exact name of this real-life model, but I've seen it before. It's like maybe it starts with a Z. It's a very strange name, but it actually is something based on a real car model. And so I think that refers to that. Now, BAD, obviously, Professor Z's a bad guy, is GA. Does that stand for Graham Acer? Who knows? That's something that people have speculated about for years. And on the base here, you could see 2432 EAA, so he's produced during the 243rd day of 2012. This was a late 2012 release. Like, this was a very much so holiday type season release, Christmas present, which is probably when I got this 12-pack. And yeah, happy to have it. But yeah, definitely an awkward thing to display and would be very awkward to re-release. Now this is, like I said, the beautiful unibody Finn McMissile that they started to re-release around the mid-2010s. Before then, we had what I believe to be a very ugly segmented fin. You can see he's got the eye plate there. That's plastic. But the worst of it all is the mouth plate. That is like this metallic blue. Doesn't really match at all the die cast. I mean, it just looks horrendous. And so thankfully they amended that and we don't have to deal with it anymore. Now the back, you do still have somewhat of a bumper. It's not as bad like that. It's all plastic now. It's really just the silver bumper. Now 314 refers to Michael Craig's birthday of March 14th, and then FMCM is Finn McMissile. You do have the McMissile logo there on the trunk as well. Now, Finn and Holly Schiffel are characters from Cars 3 that Mattel definitely still enjoys re-releasing, as they do, since about 2020. They've pretty much done them every year in some way, shape, or form. It might be that Amazon starter 5-pack, or it might be a single. It might be Palace Danger Finn McMissile. It might be a random shade of Holly Schiffel that we haven't seen and that they're always changing her up. Yeah, but they do like to re-release these characters, which is kind of refreshing because they were not around from 2017 to 2018 and 2019 really at all, which I guess in the grand scheme of the Cars universe is not that long. But there was a worry there for a while that we weren't going to get much from Cars 2 ever again. And fortunately, that didn't end up being true. We got Gremlin Acer this year. We got Otis. We get Otis actually quite a bit. We still get plenty of World Grand Prix racers. And yeah, I've always loved Finn McMissile's wheels as well. But yeah, this unibody that they did with Captured Professor Z and, going forward after 2012 is great. I mean, it just looks so much better. Like, this looks cheap. Like, it literally looks like a plastic car. So that was a huge upgrade. Which, yeah, kind of crazy to think that Mattel did upgrading back in the day and not just downgrading. Sorry, guys. Still in a little bit of a bad mood. I'm just a little sad right now, to be honest. Like, if you'll notice, haven't really reviewed anything too new as of late. And the only thing that was new was those mini racers, Race and Rescue, Rover Turbowski in red, a video that no one watched. It's actually like my least viewed video in months. And so I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, they haven't gotten a new case out to the masses yet. They haven't gotten any new 2-packs out. The NASCAR Dale is barely out anywhere. And guys, I am trying to get NASCAR Dale. By the way, here's Palace Danger Finn, who came out about 1 year after this 12-pack. And, obviously is the unibody as well. Another great version of Finn. But yeah, I'm trying to get Dale as soon as possible to review him. I guess as soon as possible within reason. I'm not spending $100 for him on eBay. No thanks. But I would spend some money. Like, I'm not limiting myself to just finding him in a store because God knows when that could happen. This is a lights and sound version of Finn that's absolutely insane. Magnetic tires, the guns on both sides, just a beautiful release of Finn that I'm glad we got in some way, shape, or form. I mean, the magnetic tires are just fantastic. Can't believe they didn't do those in anything else but a lights and sounds release of all things. But yeah, let's reconnect Professor Z to Finn. Sorry, Mr. Z. Yeah, you're Mr. Z now. You're no longer the professor because probably you are still in prison as of 2025. You would have only served, well, it's 2026 now. I got to get used to that. You have only served 15 years in prison. Maybe not even, considering when the trial was and all that stuff. So yeah, you're definitely still locked away. So you're not the professor anymore. No one's calling you that. And Finn has got you snared here. He's got you on the leash. And yeah, guys, that is all I have for you for this episode of Forlorn Favorites. What the hell else? who am I going to review next? By the way, this is a pretty cool scene. If we remove all of our duplicate characters here. Now, I know the screen here on Holly Shiftwell isn't accurate, but the expression is so much better on this version of Holly Shiftwell than the other one that shows Miles Axelrod's hood. So yeah, it's a cool little scene here in the streets of London. But yeah, you can definitely expect me to review Sal, Francesco Bernoulli's hauler. He's coming up real soon because people actually watched that video of Andre for Raul's hauler. And yeah, that's all I'm willing to give away. I'll see you guys next time for another video. Bye now.